Hi folks, welcome back to Scope 360. This is Nasir Ud Din, and if you've just joined us, in our studio we have Mr. David Boseveld, who is a candidate for wards 2 and 6 in Brampton, and he's running as a trustee for the Peel District School Board. And previously we had discussed some of the issues on a minor level, but now we're going to go into the hardcore deep issues that are facing wards 2 and ward 6 in Brampton. I'm going to have Dave elaborate a little bit more further on that. So Dave, tell our audience, please.
Thank you. So here's the thing. I'm going door to door as part of my campaign, and I'm talking to thousands of parents with young people in the system, in the Peel District School Board. And what parents are telling me is that the board is not responsive to their needs. So what that can look like, is programs are not available, they're not well advertised. And when parents do find out that there was programs that they think they could have perhaps benefited their children, they're not getting a great response from the board. The board is not, finding ways and moving mountains to make sure that these children are accessing the programs that are best suited for them. The other thing is that, schools themselves are overcrowded. Brampton has developed in a manner that is not sustainable, in that they've built so much housing, and so you have kids in like grade 1, 2, and 3 that can't go to their home school because there's 50 people on a waiting list.
Wow.
And so as a result, they're being bused 30 minutes away from their home school, and that's really unacceptable. I think if you can imagine, grade 1, 2, and 3 is full, and then you can imagine we've had pandemic and kids have been learning at home. They've been learning in our atrocious hybrid model, which thank God we've been able to get rid of that. But folks are feeling like antisocial. They've been in a position where they haven't been together for a very long time, and they need extra support. Is the board providing those extra supports? Parents are telling me no.
Okay, so we've got the issue in Brampton in wards 2 and 6 for the busing, but I'm sure there's other issues as well. What are some of the other major issues that the parents are telling you?
I think it is when you have something that's specific that you want to raise with the board. People don't know how to navigate that system, and I think people also don't feel that system responds to their unique needs, right? So every child has different learning abilities and styles, right? And needs different programming, needs unique care. And if the caregiver can't express this to the school and to somebody that maybe is in a position to make a change, they're not getting what they need for their kids. And education is a right?
Absolutely.
Everyone is entitled in this province to a high quality education, and folks at the doorstep are telling me their kids aren't receiving that.
So they're not receiving, so the communication issue, the busing issue, they're not getting the proper opportunity for enrollment. And what are some of the other things? Like I know you kind of elaborate a little bit further before about more of the racism. Well, Dave, you did bring up a lot of points of the issues that are happening in wards 2 and 6. Now, one of the things that you also mentioned was, especially for the South Asian community as well too, there was Islamophobia. This was happening in the Muslim community. This was happening racism in the Sikh community. Racism also happening in the Hindu community. And you've been door knocking. You've gone to like a lot of doors. So why don't you tell our audience some of the other things you have faced with racism and so forth for that particular community?
That's what I've heard, right? Directly from people who are disappointed, right? There's racial bullying and the board is not necessarily able to stop that or deal with it appropriately. And the other thing is that the schools aren't representative of the various identity groups. So all of those folks, all of the very diverse folks in Brampton don't necessarily find that the learning materials or, the board staff reflect their identities, and that's really problematic, right? We know that 80% of the students in the Peel District School Board are not white, and we know that 70% of the teachers are. So, how do you feel that you're reflected in your education if that's the demographic, that's the disparity that we're left with, and that's what we're facing.
Right.
That's what we're being told.
Wow, that's pretty deep. some of the other things that you had previously mentioned as well, Dave, was the fact that we were talking to a lot of the parents, going door to door and getting the information. They were also talking about to you the quality of the education, and now they have to incur additional cost in getting their children into private school.
I hear it.
Yeah.
You know, I hear it over and over again, and it's shocking to me. And these aren't necessarily people who can, you know, they're sacrificing something to pay private school fees, right? So people are literally telling us at the door that they've taken their kids out of the Peel District School Board, they're putting them in private school, they're homeschooling, or they're trying the Catholic board, and we're talking, you know, not people that are Catholic, right? They're looking for almost any alternative to the Peel District School Board.
Wow.
And I'm not saying this is what I'm being told. And then we have the tutoring companies, and you can see in Brampton, tutoring companies are exploding in growth.
Wow.
We've got the Kumans of the world. People are paying hundreds of dollars a week out of their hard-earned money to supplement their kids' education. We think that should be delivered by the public education system, and we don't think that parents should have to fear that their kids aren't learning at the proper rate in the schools, because the schools, quite frankly, are overwhelmed. And by the way, let's not just blame the teachers for this, right? Somebody's making a decision that says there can be 32 kids in a high school class, and that's untenable. That's not learning, that's babysitting, right? So that's, you know, we're hearing that from every corner of our wards.
They're just cramming everybody into the classrooms, right? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Unfortunately, the education system has changed so much from the time that you and I were in high school, and now, you know, like you said, you have people who are going to a Catholic school, and nothing wrong with that, but people of different faiths, whether it's Muslim, Hindu, Sikhs, and additional faiths as well, who are looking for the quality of education. And they say, you know what, I need to send my son or my daughter to a Catholic school or to a private school because they're not getting the quality of education. And they're happy by doing that, but once, like you said, there's always a sacrifice from a monetary perspective, right? So Dave, and I'm sure there's a lot of other issues that are so deep, and we could talk all night about it, but I want to ask you, and obviously our audience and the voters want to know is, all right, Dave, so if on October the 24th, why should I vote for Mr. Dave Boswell? What changes are you going to make, Dave?
Okay, well, you know, this is great. That's a great question, Nas. And so the first thing I'll say is, in order for me to represent people, I need to get out and meet and talk to people. And at doors, I'm hearing that nobody else is doing that, right? But every door I go to, I'm like, does anyone else come to talk to you? Did the previous trustee come and meet with you and answer your concerns? And the answer I'm getting is no, nobody ever comes here, nobody cares.
Wow.
Right? And so the difference, I think, for folks that choose to elect me is that they'll have someone that's responsive, they'll have my mobile number. I am, you know, easy to reach, and I am absolutely responsive. I don't believe that the role is for me to put my ideas onto other people. I believe it's actually for me to represent people, advocate for people, and make sure that the system is able to respond to the very diverse needs of the students and families in Brampton. And further, I believe that all of what we do should center the children, right? And their families and their support should be absolutely, without reservation, put at the forefront of the education system.
Excellent. The other thing I want to kind of just finish up on this topic over here is, what about, you had mentioned something like security, like, you know, and I've heard this from other parents as well, who say, you know, I don't feel comfortable in sending my child to school. And as you know, a couple of years ago, even in one of the private schools, there was an incident that happened, and it was an all-boys school. Happened about, I think, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but there's a lot of concerns that the parents have, you know, that I don't feel comfortable in sending my child to school because of the bullying, the guns, the knives, the other weapons that they take because you look a certain way. You know, you may wear a turban, or you may wear a hijab, or you may have a tikka over here, anything like that, right? So there's a lot of that fear as well. Now, does that fall under your responsibilities when you're elected in this position, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So before someone can learn, they need to feel safe, right?
Comfortable, yeah.
So the priority number one in the schools is that they have to be made safe for every child, right? And this is, I think this is the key, really, is when you have low expectations for children, when you're spending your time focusing on this group or that group, and you sort of are
Neglecting another one, yeah.
neglecting another group, that's when you get kids acting out. That's when you get kids in the hallways. That's when you get kids making poor choices. Look, I was part of a group that removed the police from schools in Peel region, and I think that was an important step. But one of the things that the community members that were involved in that long overdue step asked for was more supports, more guidance, more social workers, more mental health supports, right? Like you remove one thing because we don't think, I think most of us don't think that children need to be criminalized within their learning environments. But what are the supports that are put there instead of police, and how are they ensuring that kids' safety is first and foremost? Once the kid is fed, housed, and kept safe, then that child can start to actually learn. And that's the purpose of schools. Schools aren't there just to babysit your kid for 6 hours. Schools are there to provide an education, and where we keep hearing over and over and over from families again, I'm regurgitating what they're telling me. Their kids aren't being stimulated properly. You have different, again, styles of learning, different levels, and a teacher, an educator may have to spend more time with this kid, that kid, but the supports aren't there, and the support staff are burnt out. We were out talking to folks tonight, and a woman who works in the board was literally telling us, like, she's been kicked, bitten, beaten, right? And that's the least of her concerns. She loves the children. What she hates is that she's also being yanked in this direction and yanked in that direction, and restricted from any kind of meaningful wage increase over a number of years, and being threatened to this day by the Minister of Education to be restricted to a 1% wage increase once again. People are leaving the profession. Wow. That's what we're being told.
Now, Dave, you also elaborated, you said about something about like children being fed. Now, I know that there were some programs, I know they have them here, but there was programs where if a child, depending on the family, they don't have money, affordability for a child to have even breakfast in the morning. Have you also found out that this is happening in the Brampton and in the wards you're representing, that children are going hungry to school as well?
That's not something that's been raised at the doorsteps, but that's something that I've heard like over a long period of time, and there are answers to that, right? Like, we can provide a meal program. We can at least, so everything that can be done from the trustee position in the local school board, I believe it should be universal. I don't believe children should be, centered out because maybe their socioeconomic status, poverty, or food insecurity. I don't think that they should have to go into a room with a voucher and say, I'm one of the kids on the meal program, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to feel like that, yeah.
You pilot perhaps something like that in a school where you recognize that, kids aren't learning and there's behavioral issues, and perhaps one of the factors around that is that kids are hungry. And you provide a universal program that says, whether it's a breakfast or a lunch program or some combination, and you see if you measure. Right? You measure for results, and you see, does that change the outcomes for children? And if it does, then you have an opportunity to perhaps roll it out further.
Excellent, yeah, because if a child, if he or she is hungry and goes to school on an empty stomach, then obviously they're not mentally there. Great, so that's a lot of stuff that we covered. So we're going to take another break. We're going to take another break right now, and we're going to come back with our closing remarks and why Dave is the right candidate. So be right back.
इज्जत ही हमारी इज्जत का जनाजा निकाल कर जा चुकी है। कामरान, वक्त गुजर चुका है भाईजान, अब इंतजार किस बात का? शर्मिंदा होने की बजाय जुबान चलाती हो तुम।
जैसा ही मिलेगा लाश तुम्हारे घर भिजवा दूंगा, लगा लेना अपने सीने से।
अबू क्या हो गया आपको?
इज्जत के चंद ही कपड़े होते हैं।
Hello folks, welcome back. You're watching Scope 360. I'm Nasir Ud Din, and for those who are just joining in, we have Mr. David Boseveld, who is a candidate for school trustee for the Peel District School Board for Wards 2 and Ward 6. And we've had a very in-depth conversation regarding some of the issues that are in Brampton, and obviously they're pretty serious and hardcore. So Dave, I want to ask you, and to our audience and to our future voters here, so the election is on Monday, October the 24th. 2022. And when you're elected, sir, what is the first thing you are going to do on Tuesday, October the 25th? Tell our audience and why they should vote for you.
The first thing we have to do is we have to restore trust. It's broken, right? And so the Peel District School Board needs to start on a new path of engaging families, community members, and students where they are at. Reaching out, the outreach has to improve, and the board in particular itself has to get its act together, and I think I can be a leader in making that happen. I think as of right now the board has been stripped of their power by the Ministry of Education, right? They were ineffective, they're all running for re-election, and they got themselves in a whole giant heap of trouble. We need to repair the relationships with communities.
Restore the faith again, and have the parents believe in the actual education system and the people, the trustees and the teachers and the principal and everybody that goes all around in the whole education system to give them the support. That is excellent. Dave, I know you're very passionate about this. Obviously the message comes across, so I wish you the very best on October the 24th, the elections. And it's very important because a lot of the times people think that, oh, my vote won't matter. My vote won't matter, right? It's just a vote, because people, they don't take the municipal election that seriously. Have you noticed that as well too, right?
Yeah, we hear that a lot. We hear people say, I might vote, I might not vote, but I feel like you can directly impact your life by voting in a municipal election differently than a federal or provincial election. Like the very things that are closest to home, your property taxes, the $2 billion that goes into the Peel District School Board every year. By the way, Peel District School Board is the largest employer in the region. We have to make sure that it's functioning properly, and what we're hearing today is that people don't have any faith in the board's ability to do what it's mandated to do, which is to provide a high quality education for every child, from every background, from every identity group.
Excellent. And folks, remember, every vote is important. And if you want to make a change, you got to get out and vote. If you don't vote, then don't complain. But once again, this is about your children. This is about the education and the quality of education for your children for today and for tomorrow and going forward for the next generation as well. And Dave discussed a lot of the issues that are in those two wards that he's representing. You can reach out to Dave. You have your contact information as well too on your campaign flyers and so forth, right? So reach out to him, ask him the questions, and I always tell the voters, challenge the candidates. Don't just accept it for lip service. Challenge them, ask them those questions, make the concern so they could implement your voice, and also if there's any new things, they could do that for you. So,
and they can find my direct cell phone number on my website, www.davidboseveld.ca, and please feel free to reach out if folks have any kind of questions that they want, any issues that they want to see addressed on day one when I'm elected. I'm happy to continue having those conversations.
Excellent. Well, Dave, it's a pleasure having you in the studio. I'm really glad you did bring up a lot of serious issues, and I'm sure you're the perfect candidate for this who's going to get the job done. So thank you for being in the studio. And folks, you've got a very in-depth episode here. There's a lot of serious topics that we talked about, but it's up to you to make sure you get out and vote and make a change. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're watching this on IPTV, please tell your family and your friends to watch our channel. Signing off, till next time, Nasir Ud Din for Scope 360. Allah Hafiz.